Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify, Apple, or Google, please leave a 5-star rating and review. It supports the podcast and it doesn't cost you anything. This content is brought to you by Uphold, which is a great crypto platform that I've been using since 2017. They're one of my go-to exchanges. I can certainly vouch for this platform, having used it for years. They have 10 plus million users, 250 plus cryptocurrencies, and they're available in 150 countries. You can also buy and sell precious metals and equities on this platform. So if you'd like to learn more about Uphold, please visit the link in the description. Well, folks, we got some big news around the SEC. They are getting sued and the crypto industry is on the attack. They're going on the offensive against the SEC. We know we are dealing with a corrupt regulator, a scumbag corrupt regulator that is Gary Gensler. The SEC has fallen far from its core mission of protecting investors. They are out to protect the incumbents. They can be bought. We saw with the Ethereum free pass and many other examples. Well, remember Empower Oversight, that whistleblower and research organization, they're nonprofit. Their goal is to help hold the government accountable, whether it be with crypto or any other aspects of the government of violating the Constitution or law, right? We need that. We need accountability because we got to weed out corruption, folks. The government serves the people, right? They don't serve businesses and corporations. They serve the people. And here, the news is government watchdog sues SEC again, opens second front in fight for detailed Hinman, Clayton emails, phone logs, meeting notes with names, entities, individuals. Empower Oversight is suing to force the SEC to produce all records relating to communications between officials and a detailed list of named parties, which the SEC has not produced. So yet again, the SEC continues to ignore the Constitution. They continue to ignore the law. They are hiding a lot. And when you're doing wrong things, right, that's when you try to hide, you try to delay, because if you're a government agency with integrity and you're doing the right thing, guess what? You have nothing to hide. Do you want to see these documents? Sure, here you go. You go through the proper process of FOIA requests and so forth, and you provide those documents. But the SEC has a lot to hide. They have a lot to hide with Hinman's communications and emails, even Jay Clayton, the former SEC chairman's information, because we know the Ethereum free pass took place. Now, I don't hate Ethereum. I hold Ethereum. I'm bullish on Ethereum. And it's not necessarily that it has to do with Ethereum. It's just that the SEC is the problem. They were the ones who were compromised here. And of course, they are hindering the free market from playing out. So we see the SEC continues to play shady games. Remember what Judge Sarah Netburn said regarding Hinman's documents and how they were trying to use it in their arguments. She said the SEC lacks faithful allegiance to the law. That's a judge calling out the SEC, and I'm thankful we have the judicial branch to help bring this corruption to light and to hold these folks accountable. Now, Jason Foster, who's the founder of Empower Oversight, he tweeted out, "Hey SEC, this is not a game. The law requires you to do these searches, and you have known it all along. Time for the foot dragging and dishonesty to stop. Be serious professionals, do the searches and produce the documents." So you have folks calling them out, right? They're dishonest. They have no allegiance to the law. And can you believe this is a government agency, right? Where's the integrity? It's unbelievable that we're dealing with this nonsense, and they are funded by our tax dollars. That's the things that makes me really angry. It just makes my blood boil. My tax dollars, I pay my taxes, are funding the clown regulator Gary Gensler. Jason, also tweeted out some videos and from Digital Asset Investor and talked about the lawsuit. They're going after the SEC, and he tagged John Deaton, Digital Asset Investor, and also the president of Empower Oversight. So we also have Patrick McHenry, chairman of the House Financial Services Committee, coming out and threatening the SEC if they don't produce the documents that they have supposedly should have done a long time ago. He's going to hold another hearing and bring Gary Gensler in. So here's the headline: McHenry to the U.S. SEC. Which crypto firms have tried to register? Representative Patrick McHenry, who heads the House Financial Services Committee, accused the SEC of stonewalling questions on digital assets, so he threatened another hearing. This is what we got to do. We got to go on the offensive. We got to go on the offensive, folks. This is why I keep telling you, contact your representatives, make content, email, use social media to your advantage. Your representatives, the SEC officials are all on Twitter. There's never been a time in history when you can go and tweet at, these folks. So we got to drum up as much noise as possible. So Representative Patrick McHenry, the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee that oversees the SEC, sent a letter this week to SEC Chair Gary Gensler complaining that an earlier April 26 request had been rebuffed. The letter is also signed by Representative Bill Huizenga, who I had on the podcast, coincided with recent hearings, including one on May 10th, in which Republican lawmakers criticized the agency for trying to hold the crypto industry to existing securities regulations. Here is a quote. While you have stated that the digital asset intermediaries such as exchanges should come in and register, you have refused to establish rules which digital asset trading platforms and other intermediaries can comply. The lawmakers wrote in the April letter, which asked for a list of companies that have met with the SEC officials to discuss registration. McHenry's committee will likely be instrumental in any legislation that may emerge this year on the U.S. oversight of digital assets, and a draft resolution the committee published this week suggests that the SEC has been doing an inadequate job and needs to await direction from Congress. Chair Gensler will respond to members of Congress directly rather than go through the media, an agency spokesperson said. So the May 9th follow-up letter from McHenry and Huizenga noted that SEC staff complained of how overly burdensome the committee's requests have been. The lawmakers narrowed this request and others, offering a new deadline of May 19th. If it isn't met, the committee will seek to schedule testimony from SEC officials to discuss the SEC's failure to comply with congressional requests. So I know some folks are going to say, oh man, there's a lot of back and forth and letters, but unfortunately, this is how government works, and they have to go through these, these letters and these announcements. But, as Bill Huizenga, Congressman Bill Huizenga, who's obviously one of the chairmen, said in my interview with him, they control the purse strings, so they can go after his funding. They can put out rules and so forth. And once again, I know this is annoying, the letters back and forth, but this is part of the process, unfortunately. I don't think we can get around this. And I'm glad these gentlemen are using harsher language, and they're saying, hey, you don't provide this information. We're going to have more hearings, and we're going to bring Gary Gensler and the staff in, and they're going to have to answer. So really, really great. We got to go on the offensive, and I love this. Now, Coinbase's SEC complaint draws allies depicting U.S. regulator as a crypto bully. Folks, this is a significant one because it includes the Chamber of Commerce. Don't get that confused with the Digital Chamber of Commerce. This is the Chamber of Commerce, which existed before crypto, which handles businesses throughout the United States. So this is a really, really big criticism against the SEC. So as the exchange tries to force an answer from the SEC on digital assets regulation, crypto groups and the Chamber of Commerce leap in. So let me give you the details. In a series of amicus briefs filed this week, several crypto groups are joining the US-based exchange, talking about Coinbase, as they collectively insist the SEC is deliberately wrecking the young industry with an insistence that there's nothing distinct or special about crypto that warrants different treatment under securities laws. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit granted the various groups' petition to join the case on Thursday. That's great news. Here's a quote. The digital assets industry is stuck in limbo, simultaneously told to come in and register, yet have no effective means of doing so, said a brief from Paradigm, a firm that invests in digital assets businesses. It is no surprise that the SEC's actions have crippled a nascent industry and sown confusion among countless firms unable to conform to the SEC's view of the law or challenge that view in court. Meanwhile, even the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the broadest of organizations that lobby on behalf of U.S. business interests, has offered criticism for the behavior of the SEC. Here's a quote. Nobody knows for certain which digital assets, if any, are securities under federal law, the chamber argued in its brief. That is no small question. It has immense implications for every person involved in the $1 trillion digital asset economy, and it is the threshold regulatory question from which all others flow. You have, folks, the Chamber of Digital Commerce, right? They're not crypto specific. They handle every business and every industry and vertical in the United States. They're coming out and saying, hey, SEC, what are you doing? No one knows what the hell is going on. You're not providing the clarity. You're using regulation by enforcement. So you see, folks, you have people outside the crypto industry coming in and say, this is ridiculous. This is stupid. And this is why I keep saying we're dealing with a scumbag regulator that is Gary Gensler. It's unbelievable. So even the Crypto Council for Innovation, they filed an amicus, and here their opening sentence to their tweet says the SEC failure to respond to Coinbase's petition for rulemaking is causing tangible harm to major American industry. We have Congressman Warren Davidson said, America's fintech future is threatened. Gary Gensler's wrecking ball. I'm glad consensus is building. Congress must take action to provide legal clarity for digital assets and substantive reform to the SEC that eliminates the chairmanship and empowers the commission. Now, remember, Warren Davidson is calling for the chairman seat to be abolished and for a board to be put into place that reports to or has an executive director that reports to the board. So I think that's great. Here, Metalaw Man, who's a lawyer, and he shares a lot of great thoughts on Twitter. He said, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has filed an amicus brief in the Coinbase versus SEC case, calling out the SEC for acting unlawfully in the digital asset space. This is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, not the Chamber of Digital Commerce. This is a big deal. Here is why. The Chamber, or the U.S. Chamber, is a highly influential organization representing companies in all industries across the U.S., not just crypto. The brief opened with, as it stands today, nobody knows for certain which digital assets, if any, are securities under federal law. He says the Chamber makes three arguments. First, regulatory uncertainty is killing innovation in the U.S. The SEC is destabilizing the digital assets regulatory environment. The SEC is violating constitutional due process and fair notice rights. That's big, folks. And he says the Chamber declares the SEC's actions are not just harmful policy, they are unlawful. Folks, Judge Sarah Netburn, what does she say? The SEC lacks faithful allegiance to the law. The Chamber of Commerce, once again, nothing to do with crypto, existed before crypto, right? They represent businesses across the United States. The SEC's actions are not just harmful policy, they are unlawful. See what we're dealing with here? We're dealing with corrupt scumbag regulator Gary Gensler, who has no allegiance to the law. So we got to keep fighting. Now, something else, Patrick McHenry, he just announced that a digital assets, financial technology, and inclusion subcommittee hearing to access how legislation will help put the stablecoins next Thursday, May 18th. So there was a crypto hearing this week, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes, and he's already scheduled another one. And of course, he's threatening another one if the SEC doesn't provide the documents, or multiple hearings to bring the SEC officials in. Shout out to Patrick McHenry. This is what we need to do, folks. We got to drum up the noise, and I respect that they're taking action and going after these folks. And now with the hearing this week, guys, man, it was crazy. There were some good takeaways, but of course, I was really disappointed. We saw Democrats, for the most part, are becoming anti-crypto. And I'm not saying all of them. You have like Darren Soto, Richie Torres, those Democrats who understand the technology, who are fighting on behalf of it. But we're seeing a coordinated effort among Democrats to put out talking points that are negative towards crypto. And that includes Brad Sherman, Elizabeth Warren, Maxine Waters, and so forth. And Eleanor Tourette of Fox Business, she found the following memo. And she said the memo was circulated among Democrat committee members. It contained key messages for the Democrats to stick to, including supporting the SEC's total authority over crypto regulation. Its assertion that nearly all cryptos constitute securities and that crypto's problem isn't ambiguity, it's mass non-compliance. The messaging also asserts that committee Republicans who are looking to cut the budgets of financial regulators are not actually serious about protecting investors and should instead focus on passing a clean debt ceiling bill, not on pro-crypto legislation. So really sucks that these group of Democrats, are forming and putting out these BS talking points, which we clearly know are false. And Meta Lawman, he highlighted or share some thoughts on that memo. He said the memo says the SEC has made it clear that nearly all digital assets are securities. End of story. He said, fortunately, Gary Gensler's opinion is not the end of this story. The courts will have the last say. And they should say that digital assets traded in a secondary market are not securities. End of story. He's absolutely right. So, folks, once again, we got to keep fighting. Now, in that hearing, oh my gosh, this clown of clowns, this grade A clown, Brad Sherman, continues his nonsense spewing. He said, crypto bros, I'm sure some of you saw the clip. It's been going viral on Twitter. Crypto bros made over $1 trillion out of thin air. He said, and then he says, they'll accuse the U.S. government of making money out of thin air. Maybe we do, but we're the U.S. government. I don't think he was supposed to say that. He's calling out the government for printing money out of thin air. That is why crypto has become such a viable asset class. People see the deflationary aspect of it, the transparency and the hard cap of many of these cryptos and their supply, and it's deflationary, right? You just look at Bitcoin and many of these others that you can't make more of them. So he's coming out with these BS talking points, but he made himself look like a fool and the U.S. government look like a fool. So this guy is a clown. We know he's been kissing Gary Gensler's ass. Him, Elizabeth Warren, and Gary Gensler are three clowns in a circus. Now, here's the juxtaposition of this, though, folks. We're dealing with all these headwinds and the fighting and the back and forth, right? But look at the news that's coming out here in another branch of the government. Defense Department explores crypto use cases with blockchain startup Constellation. It marks a significant milestone as one of the first completed blockchain phase 2 contracts within the government sector. Think about what's happening here, folks. This is why I've been preaching about this and talking about it nonstop. This is not to kill crypto. This technology is here to stay. It's not going away. And while Gary Gensler and these clowns are putting up roadblocks, the government is testing and working on it and looking and seeing how they can leverage the technology. Pretty wild stuff, right? Let me give you the details. Biden's White House might be waging war on crypto, but that hasn't stopped the U.S. Department of Defense from pushing blockchain boundaries. The Defense Department, or DoD, has just finalized a contract with a 6-year-old blockchain startup, a significant step in the industry. Established in 2017, Constellation is a privately backed, founder-led blockchain ecosystem with a keen focus on processing big data. Its infrastructure is pitched to support decentralized data marketplaces and maintain data provenance and integrity. The San Francisco-based firm said Thursday the completion of its Phase 2 DoD contract led to a well-defined deliverable prototype. The U.S. Air Force began contracting Constellation through a DoD partnership in 2019. The U.S. military eyed Constellation as a way to modernize the cybersecurity of its back-end systems. The Phase 2 contract continued research and development to evaluate the commercial potential of the platform, including deal sizes up to $1 million. So the idea was to explore whether blockchain could provide a secure way to effectively and efficiently transfer confidential data across our defense, transportation system, commercial airlift partners without sacrificing cost or speed. So let me give you the final conclusion of this way before they announce it. It is going to be the way. Everything will run on blockchains, folks. This is the future. Once again, the token economy is coming. This is why we are early and we have the ability to make significant returns because we're early and we don't have to be an accredited investors. We don't have to go through a gatekeeper. So it's amazing what's happening. So Constellation is the architect of what's called Hypergraph Transfer Protocol. It's a tool for Web3 developers to encrypt, authenticate, and handle data across various digital platforms. The HGTP is to blockchain what the founders say HTTP is to the internet, the primary channel for efficient data communication between servers and clients. So see, folks, while they're trying to fight the free market right now, the government itself is using the blockchain and testing it. And we know they're building their CBDCs as well, which will be on blockchains. So this right here tells you this tech is here to stay. This tech has legs. It's disrupting the incumbents. And of course, they're weaponizing the SEC and these clowns in government to fight against the industry. But one thing they can't do is kill it. They can't stop it. They may slow it down here in the United States, but this is a global asset class. Now, here is an interesting move by New York. New York introduces bill to accept stablecoins as form of payment for bail. You can't make this stuff up, folks, right? One hand, once again, they're fighting you on the other hand, while the back end, oh yeah, give us your crypto, give us your stable coins. Oh yeah, the Defense Department, the military, let's use blockchain, right? Unbelievable what's happening. But this is why you do your own research and you go and look at what they're doing, not what they're saying. So this is really wild that they are introducing a bill that would accept stablecoins as a form of payment. All of this is just laying the grounds for the token economy, CBDCs, and crypto and stablecoins and digital assets to be flowing through the economy. Now, speaking of stablecoins, I'm sure some of you may have heard this news, but Tether's latest Q1 2023 assurance report shows reserve surplus at all-time high of $2.44 billion, up $1.48 billion in net profit. Holy crap. Isn't that crazy, guys? New categories for additional transparency reveals Bitcoin and gold allocations. So Tether obviously operating outside the United States. We have USDC here, and they continue to grow. They're making a profit. And it's wild what's happening. Once again, the US can't stop this thing. The genie's out the bottle. The train has left the station. Ain't no stopping this train, guys. This thing is rolling down the tracks. It's pretty crazy what's happening. This is huge profits for Tether right here. Now, here's an example of global crypto adoption. Nigeria goes blockchain. Policy could impact digital identity. Nigeria's crypto community celebrates the approval of the national blockchain policy set to impact governance, digital identity management, and e-payments. The token economy, my friends. It's amazing what's happening. So the government of Nigeria approved a national blockchain policy during a meeting on May 3rd, 2023. A policy draft stated that the blockchain and decentralized ledger technology would facilitate the development of the Nigerian digital economy. Cointelegraph contacted the local blockchain ecosystem to understand how the industry and the community accept the policy. Olaje Abiola, I probably butchered that name, the co-founder and CEO of Kia, a Nigerian fintech company, expressed delight at the development. Olajida said the blockchain technology policy can potentially impact various areas of government or governance and policy making in Nigeria. He further stated that if blockchain policy is leveraged correctly, it could help manage digital identity, creating a tamper-proof digital identity for citizens to authenticate and access government secure services securely. With the proper regulations, blockchain technology could impact e-payments and billings in Nigeria, he stated. So obviously the digital identity part worries me because, the draconian social credit system seems like it's upon us. It's coming, right? But at least we have alternatives. We have Bitcoin, we have other digital assets, crypto, XRP, Ethereum, and so forth that we can move value, stable coins as well. But, I think all of these things are inevitable. Unfortunately, while my generation and even past generations are going to look at this and say, man, this looks crazy, we're not going to go for it. Future generations who are growing up and don't know better will probably accept it, but hopefully they can put the guardrails in place and have checks and balances so this power isn't abused. But my worry is that at some point they will, right? With these digital identity and CBDCs. So hopefully we can get it right. Obviously, I live in the United States, so I can only vouch for the U.S. Constitution here and fight here. Folks around the world will have to figure out privacy solutions and their form of the Constitution to fight some of these draconian overreach items. Anyway, folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think about this. Great to see the SEC getting sued, the industry going after them, members of Congress, taking action here, threatening hearings if they don't take, the SEC doesn't provide documents and all the information. So good stuff happening here. And I hope this continues. I hope more members of the crypto industry sue the SEC as well. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button, and I'll talk to you all later.